welcome to the next conversation with my friends. I told you my friends are gold, and I absolutely love and hate some of them, most of them, all of them. So today on set I have the amazing, trailblazing Ethan Refiloe Mohapi. So for those of you who don't know, this is one of my very close friends, Ethan. Brunch with Ethan, or brunch for Ethan again. Welcome. Hi, Pipi. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
So
Nice to have me here.
it's always good to have you on my platform. I love my platform. Guys, I'm aspiring to be a lifestyle talk show. So this is me practicing for all of that. But without wasting any more time, let's talk about you and our friendship and where we are, where we came from, and everything else in between. So starting deep diving straight into 2013, this guy was in the process of completing his chartered accountancy in Lesotho. And the first time I met him, he was, for lack of a better word, down and out. Down and out. One exam away from getting his certification or his qualification as a chartered accountant, broken, defeated, beat down, ready to quit. Let's start there.
Oh, TK, you asked the questions, eh?
I asked the questions. Talk show host.
I think we met in 2012 to be exact.
2012, yes.
2012, yeah. Not 2013, but you're right. When we met, it was in a point whereby I experienced my first failure.
First failure.
First failure.
And I love how this thing over here on set.
What does it say?
Failure is not falling down. It is not getting up again. I don't understand what that means, but we're talking about failure, and I'm very big on failure. Yeah, so let's talk about failure.
Yeah, so
your first failure.
It was my first failure when I thought everything was going according to plan. But I guess when you hit rock bottom, it's a matter of who do you need in your life who are able to get you back up on your feet and are able to encourage you to be the best version of yourself. Again, because I don't necessarily think failure means we are not the best. It's just a setback, and it's just an opportunity for us to reevaluate our strategies and say, okay, what is it that I want and how can I make it work again? It didn't work the first time. What is it that I can do? So I had to take my time again, which was not a good experience, but I had to do it again.
I want to talk about that experience, because when you say it's your first failure, it means for me that you've been trailblazing, you've been an overachiever, you've been achieving,
That's right.
And the story I heard before I met you was the fact that you are at Center of Accounting Studies and you are trailblazing, top of class, top of your cohort, etc., etc. So how go about failure? What was that? I want to feel that, or I want to get a sense of where you were at that point in time. What did you feel? How did that particular first failure feel for you?
Okay, so the one special thing I know about myself is that I know when I'm going to succeed, and I know when I'm going to do well. And even before writing that exam, I knew.
Okay.
I knew very well that I was not going to make it because of the events that had happened before.
Okay.
So about 6 months before that exam, I took a break from school. From school to pursue other things.
Okay.
I went out to pursue other things, but I was well aware that it could be one of two things. I could go back to write the exams and pass, or fail. Luckily enough, I passed one of the subjects and one of the modules, and I dropped one of them. So it was a little bit of expected, but that email that I got of my exam results was a form of confirmation of something that I knew.
So you already knew.
I already knew that I was struggling.
You made a provision that you were going to fail.
Yeah.
And then you actually failed.
Then I actually failed because I knew I was struggling on that module. And I needed to put in a lot of effort, and unfortunately that was not enough. What I did was not enough. I knew I was not really strong on that module, and I tried.
And what was your comeback?
But my comeback was after I had that wake-up call that, you know what, actually you're not the ish. But you were. And
at that point in time.
In that point in time, I knew very well that, okay, things will not always work out according to what I thought they would be. And I need to go an extra mile. So when I took that exam again, in December 2012. When I took it again, the only thing I wanted was to get anything higher than 50% was enough.
50%
was enough for me.
Yeah.
So I took it, and after writing it, I was like, okay, you know what? I think I did well. Not superb, not excellent, but I think I did well.
Under the
circumstances. Considering I had not gone to classes for that module at all before, but I still passed. And I got my results in February 2013, and right then from that time I knew, like, okay, the academic side of the chartered accountancy profession was done. So I still had to continue with my articles, because for you to be a fully fledged chartered accountant, you need to do your articles. And for an ordinary person who's an aspiring accountant, what that means is you need to work at an auditing firm or accounting firm to be exposed to the accounting standards, to the auditing standards, to be exposed to different organizations that have different systems.
I love the fact that you speak about different organizations. Yes. Guys, this guy's worked from an auditing firm to two commercial banks to, I'll get into that a bit later on. But let's talk about your transition from auditing firm to commercial banks. Yeah. Because you moved, I would say, for lack of a better word, the career progression has been astounding. Bearing in mind that he's still under the age of 30, guys. And I still understand why you're not under Forbes 30 under 30, but that's a conversation for another day.
Because I haven't applied. I haven't submitted.
I don't feel like you have to apply. I feel like we as your people need to submit your nomination. So I'm out here, they did say in the last video that I'm very judgy. So I'm out here looking at myself, I'm like, why have you not submitted his nomination, you know? So I feel like your name should really be up there. And mainly because Lesotho also do not submit nominations for such things, which you're still under the age, so we can still submit. Forbes 30 under 30, we're coming for you. So let's talk about your transition to the commercial banking space and how that was moving from auditing and your failure as a student before you qualified.
The good thing was that I became lucky. I've always been lucky to have really supportive bosses. Okay. The ones who you can easily talk about anything.
Not the type that people leave organizations. No. People leave bosses, not organizations.
No, I'm proud to say that for all the organizations that I've left for, well, maybe not all, but most. Yeah. It was because of better opportunities somewhere else. Okay. Not necessarily because I was leaving my boss. But yeah. I've been really, really blessed with great bosses that have fully supported me. Who I was able. I remember when I saw for my first job at the first bank. Yeah. I remember I told my boss that, you know what, I'm going to an interview at this particular bank, and what do you think? What are your thoughts about this job? Then he gave me his pointers, like, this is what you need to look at, because he had worked for a bank before. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh. So when I went to that interview, at least I had a little bit of leverage. Even though I had never audited a bank, I had never worked for a bank, at least my boss had given me an edge and a competitive advantage over other people who maybe did not have an exposure with that particular boss that I had. So I went there, got the job, which was absolutely amazing, and we got to work together. Yes! we worked at the same bank.
But at the time, our friendship was not at its best, because he walked straight into the same office. I was like, oh my goodness. Do I have to deal with this again?
What is this guy doing? But anyway, it was really nice. Because I got to really experience new. For me, what is most important is it's not just about doing the job. I can do the job, that's right. But it's about the relationships I build with people. Who do I meet? Who do I interact with? And how can I change your life? And how can you change my life? So I think it's really, really important for me, because we can all do the job. Yeah. But what is it that you will remember me about? Yeah. It is the way I touched your life. So
besides the fact that you've got a whole lot of accolades, chartered accountant, chief internal auditor, professional internal auditor, recently masters in finance Masters of Science.
Master of Science in Financial Management.
Abroad, not in Lesotho, abroad. So I want to, talking about his accolades, I want to talk about 2015 particularly, when you applied for, is it the young...
yeah, so in 2015, it's so weird. It's so weird that, when you think about social media, we always think about, oh yeah, I want to slay, I want to take the best pictures, I want to be seen.
Which is very important.
But there is a lot of other information which people do not necessarily which we do not share, or even when we share, it's not necessarily visible to a lot of people. People can just easily ignore it because of fake news or something that is.
I mean, your life on social media looks perfect. Celebrating, living the most, traveling. So I mean, if I saw anything other than that, I'd be like, this is definitely not someone. His account is hacked or ish.
So I saw this particular post about the UNESCO's Young Professionals Program for 2015. It was in a weird group, one of those groups on Facebook that will be talking about politics or weird stuff, or maybe house for sales, things like those. I don't really remember the particular group, but I know it was in a group. So I decided to follow that link. I saw something very interesting because before that, I had already caught some interest in the World Bank's Young Professional Program, the UN, blah, blah, blah. So I followed that, did some reading and, some little bit of research to make sure that this is legit.
Of course.
Then I contacted the person who had shared that post. And then we met and he explained the process because he happened to be exposed to that particular organization.
Really? Okay.
Yes, so we met up and he gave me pointers and he was actually very supportive. And you'll remember that for my first motivation letter, I had sent it to you for you to go through it, for you to review, for a peer review.
Editor, guys, editor.
So this as an editor, and this was back in 2015. When you're a young person under 25, you're
still young, under 30, yes.
So we went through the process, the recruitment process. It was really, really interesting for me to go through that process for the first time for a job in the United Nations. Unfortunately...
United Nations, guys, note that.
Unfortunately, I did not make it all the way through.
So failure, second time.
My second failure. That was my second failure, I didn't make it all the way through. But the highlight of that process was that you are okay. You know what? You are Refiloe. We recognize your potential. But you still need to do more. And the good thing was that they gave me feedback.
Hold on. More. You're already, at this time, you're already a chartered accountant.
Yes.
You've done your articles.
Yeah.
You're already qualified as a certified internal auditor.
At the time, I was a professional internal
auditor. So the certified comes after that.
Yes.
I just looked at your LinkedIn. It's just the other way around. Anyway, that's a story for another day. So you are a professional internal auditor. In the process of becoming a certified internal auditor. And these guys tell you that you're good, you're great, but you still need to do more. More!
Yeah, more.
And
that more
was
and the more that they talked about was pretty simple because they told me what that more was about.
Okay.
And they were like, okay, maybe what you need to think about is enrolling for a master's degree. Because that master's degree will give you an edge, will give you more skills that we need. You are already what we want, but not yet. Not yet. So an opportunity delayed is not forever.
Wow.
So they told me that you just need to do your master's, then we'll
consider. Not even give you the job. We'll consider
talking to you again.
So did you have to reapply again?
Yes. So from that time, when that was in 2015, right? Then I enrolled for certified internal auditing profession. Then did it throughout 2015, 2016. Then right after qualifying, I think I had written my last exam on Friday. And this was in July.
Yeah.
The first week of August, I had already registered for my master's because my goal.
Where was this master's registered?
This was with the Edinburgh Business School.
In Scotland.
Scotland. So I enrolled for that master's in financial management, which was really difficult because I already knew that before, when I was doing my chartered accountancy, I was already struggling with financial management.
Yeah.
So I didn't have many expectations, when it came to that program because I was struggling with that. But I didn't have so much, but I still put the effort because remember I had already failed before. So I knew the effort that I had to put
in. Yeah. I think I want to take it a step back, make it a bit more personal.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you are very career orientated. You're very passionate about education and self-development. But why do you see the need to constantly work on you? And what inspires that? I mean, from chartered accountancy to professional internal auditor to chartered to the masters, even though it's twofold. The question is twofold. You have this drive for education or this passion for education. And then secondly, you have this vision of Lesotho is not enough. From where you apply for your master's to where you're currently working now, for me, it comes across as you've always had this vision to be bigger, better, not better per se, but better for you, to be abroad. You've always had this, master's in Scotland, and now you are working in where we'll reveal where you're working in, So you've always had this drive to go beyond the borders of Lesotho.
Yeah.
What's the reason behind that? What's fueling or driving that?
So it all goes down to what was my thinking process when I was still in high school. I loved accounting.
Yeah.
I always knew that I was destined to be an accountant. That's what I knew. But I didn't want to be a conventional accountant. I don't want to be behind the numbers doing financial statements. That is not me.
Yeah.
I wanted to do something more. I want something numbers with people. That's what I like.
Numbers with people. Accountants, numbers with people. I like that.
That's what I want.
I like that. Yeah.
So I remember after doing my Form E, in Lesotho we call it Form E, but in South Africa it's Matric or whatever. But I went to see my uncle, who was a doctor in physics and computer science, for him to take me through the careers of accountants. Because I didn't know. Okay, I had this idea that I want to be.
Know what it looked like.
What is life after studying accounting? And he gave me a very nice paper that said you can be an auditor, you can be an executive in strategy, you can be a hardcore accountant, or you can be in marketing. You can do a whole lot of other things. Imagine I was 17 at the time. Most of the things that he was talking about did not make any sense to me. But reflecting back to that paper that he printed for me, everything makes perfect sense.
No.
So for somebody who's an aspiring accountant or professional person, you need to find somebody who is already living in that space or somebody who's exposed enough to talk to you genuinely. Genuinely, and to broaden your thinking, to broaden your perspective. Because if you don't have any career guidance, you are easily going to make stupid mistakes.
True.
To maybe choose a career that would not necessarily suit your character or your passion or even make you money.
Yeah.
Because we need to eat.
Of course. It's all about the rents, money.
We need to drink the wines. We need to
eat. Drink the wines. I love that. So I want to fast forward the conversation.
So maybe you ask about, okay, what has always been driving me to want to be abroad and everything about that. So from that conversation I had with my uncle, I knew that, okay, I want to be global. Okay. I knew. Right when I was 17, I knew.
Already? At the age of 17?
Yeah. I knew. Just that at the time I was
didn't know how.
I didn't have a strategy. I was not so intentional about it. But I knew. That's why I opted for an international chartered accountancy qualification. Because that was the way. At least something to give you an edge. Okay?
True.
Then you move on to the second stage. You move on to the other things.
I did not know this.
So my failure, I didn't get into the YPP program. I enrolled for a master's to prepare myself for the future programs. Okay? Then fast forward to 2018. The program opened again. That time I
And
was
then,
ready.
what did you do?
That time I was ready.
You were ready.
I was ready.
Qualification-wise,
experience-wise, everything was
psychologically as...
I was old enough.
So I'm not going to talk about that particular conversation because I feel like it deserves an interview by itself, which we'll probably do via Zoom when he's back where he's supposed to be. But I want to talk about now that you're there. So guys, this guy is now working in Paris. Paris. He speaks French, decent French.
Come on,
Bonjour. He speaks decent French. And he's achieved this in just under a year, okay? So I want to talk about, so we bid you farewell a year ago. You packed your stuff, uprooted your entire life to start a whole new life in Paris. Tell us about that experience. From the moment you landed in, I don't know what the airport is.
Charles de Gaulle.
Yeah, Charles de Gaulle. I think I flew out there in 2016, if it's the same one, via Air France. But I want to hear about the experience you get there. You land in Paris for the very first time. You don't know anybody. You can't speak a word of French besides bonjour. How has it been the last 12 months of your life? Your fears, your highlights, your aspirations.
Yeah. It's so interesting because we had a very nice farewell party. You know.
Very nice of them. Putting it mildly.
You know, I'm the modest guy, so.
Yeah. He's an accountant after all. Has to make sure the numbers are intact.
So a few days before I hopped onto that flight, things started making sense.
Yeah.
I knew I was leaving, but you know, the minute you start packing your bags, it makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
And a lot of things. I remember thinking about my friends, thinking about my family, and having to leave them behind. It was really, really emotional for me. Right. Then we went to the airport, and I saw my siblings, my family, my friends were there, and almost everyone I cared about was there. The minute they closed that
airport door,
like, holy Jesus, it's happening.
Yeah.
Before that, it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
I knew it was happening, but the minute they closed that door,
you knew there was no turning back.
I knew there was no turning back. Okay. Then we got to Paris. I had never been to Europe before. It was my first time in Europe. I got there. It was at night. Don't speak a word of French except for bonjour. Je m'appelle Refiloe. Je viens de Lesotho.
My name is Refiloe. I am from Lesotho. I've been learning.
Excuse-moi, monsieur.
Excuse me, sir.
You know, things like those. So I got there. I want to call a cab. I don't have an Uber app. I want to call a cab. I don't even know where I'm going. Then it was a Saturday night. I'm starting my work on Monday. And so I don't even know where the office is. I don't even know where my apartment is. But I was lucky enough to have somebody who was very patient with me, the cab driver.
The cab driver.
At the airport.
The one people we always undermine.
Yeah.
And take for granted.
Yeah. So he was really nice, wanted to understand where I'm coming from, why am I in Paris, and all of those. But it was really interesting. I had the most beautiful experience with my first host for the Airbnb.
Yeah.
Because finding a hotel in Paris can be so tricky, let alone finding an apartment.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So my host was really amazing. I stayed there for like 2 months, then moved into my current apartment. Met my first friends at work, because it makes sense to make friends at work because you spend most of the time there.
True.
I remember my first day at work. So devastating, because I was like, I am this guy who comes from Maseru straight into Paris.
Maseru to Paris, guys.
Like, I know.
Paris.
For somebody for somebody looking at me from a distance would think like, you are that guy, you're a trailblazer, you are winning, you are this. But to be that thing requires a lot of energy from you.
Yeah.
And for you to live it, it requires you to have a certain mind. a certain character that will say, you know what, against all odds, I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win because it's so intimidating for starters to live in a big city. I've never
bigger than Maseru.
Bigger than Maseru. You remember?
Bigger than Johannesburg.
Bigger than Johannesburg. Yeah. I was born and bred, schooled, worked in Lesotho my entire life, and that was my first job out of Lesotho. Or I had never even spent more than 30 days out of Lesotho. So all of a sudden, boom, we're in Paris, working in this huge organization with over 4,000 people in this tall building.
With the Eiffel Tower.
With the Eiffel Tower just 10
here.
minutes walk
just here.
From the office.
No, besides your office, just here. You open your windows just here. The Eiffel Tower. Just here.
So everything went smoothly because, like I said, I've been blessed. I've been blessed with incredible bosses. So my boss made everything so smooth that I wouldn't have to feel like you are a new guy here and you don't have a seat at the table. I had a seat at the table. My opinions were valid and I deserve to be heard. And
I've got 2 questions for you. Okay. Looking back to the 17-year-old you, what would you say to that person with what you know now? First question. So I'm going to let you answer that, and then I'll answer the second question, which will wrap up this conversation. So what would you say to your 17-year-old who knew that they wanted to go global, had no plan, had no strategy, and now they are actually global? What would you say to that person?
To a 17-year-old me, I would say things don't have to make sense at the same time, all at once.
Yeah.
They don't have to make sense then. At that time, I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know how to get it. Then the strategies started coming right as I became more exposed with my qualifications, with my experience, job experience, with the people I met, with my friends, with my family, with my consciousness. Because sometimes I think I can be crazy sometimes, but
all the time,
you know. But with that, after becoming self-aware, you know exactly what is your strength and you know what will not work for you. So to a 17-year-old me, I would say, you were right. Your dreams were valid. Even though you didn't know how to get there, it's okay. It's okay.
Dreams are valid.
Our dreams are valid, just that we need to meet more people, other people to help us find the strategies. And I should not really be scared to reach out for help.
Okay.
Because that's the only way we can win in life. You won't win alone. You need help.
Okay.
So help, dreams are valid, and things don't have to make sense at the same time.
Okay. Second question. I think I just came up with a third question that will close up. Second question is Paris. What is your biggest highlight besides the champagne in Paris? I'm a champagne guy. I'm a champagne guy, and I'm willing and ready to taste French champagne. So what has been your biggest highlight in the last 12 months being in Paris? Besides the fact that you are in Scotland and you had Amsterdam and a whole lot of trips that were cancelled along because of damn COVID. It makes me angry. What's that highlight of your life in Paris?
You know, when I was in Lesotho, my friends were pretty much people that I knew. People I grew up with. We are from the same country and all of that. But in Paris, you find that most of the people do not necessarily come from France.
Oh.
So you become exposed. So I have friends there who come from the Caribbean. They come from the Pacifics. They come from.
They speak French.
They speak French. Most of my friends in Paris speak French. I'm the one who's a little bit dragging behind. Well, as you can understand.
Failure.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's the most interesting thing, that you won't necessarily meet people that you grew up with, but the experiences that you share, basically from your vulnerability, that all of you are in this space together. All of you decided to leave your home countries to come to this one place to make a living. So you have a common goal, or there's something common about you. So that's how you are able to make friendships, which is something I never thought about. I thought my friends would have to be people I grew up with, blah, blah, blah. And the most fascinating thing about being in France is the liberation. I'm free. I'm free to do whatever I want to do. Whenever I want to do it.
Who? Yeah,
with who I want to do, with who I want to do it with. So it's plain. It's like it's the fashion. The fashion is good. The exposure. When you're in Paris, you are central to many countries. The food is amazing. Not that the food here is not amazing. The food here is amazing. It's good.
The last time I was there,
you know,
they're like, you can have soup with the summer. I'm like, I want soup.
And it's so amazing how when you step out of your apartment, almost everywhere you go, there is something to see.
Okay.
Which shows that everything was planned. Which I think is something that most of the countries can take away from.
Yeah.
You need to plan properly. Everywhere there should be a tourist attraction to make money. To make it exciting for people to visit.
It was not in Paris, it was in Italy, where we paid 35 damn euros to get into a destination. I was like, what the? If Lesotho could do that, I'll be so happy. But I think you've said a lot. And the focus of this video was on his journey, particularly about how he went from Maseru to Paris, you know. The journey, because we don't talk about that. But for me, as a closing remark, is what's that one phrase or that one word or that quote or whatever it is that gets you to get up and do what you do? What's that, when you are down and out, what's that phrase that inspires you to do what you do? Or whatever it is, word, phrase, comment, whatever it is. What's that word, and what would you say to a 17-year-old who's aspiring to be an accountant, an auditor, anything in that space? What would you say to that person in a phrase, in a sentence, in a word? What would that be? And the second part is, what would you say to all the friends that keep throwing you all these farewell brunches, farewell parties? I know you've got a dinner tomorrow. I'm like, guy, just go to damn Paris. What would that be?
Well, I guess we cannot really have this conversation without touching on racism.
Racism, yeah.
Racism, that I've experienced racism myself.
Oh.
In Paris. I have. So it's difficult for us to ignore everything that is going on. What happens? Black Lives Matter and everything else. What happens in America is a depiction of what a black person anywhere in the world experiences.
Oh, wow.
So I, for one, I have experienced racism in Paris. But one thing that I take away from everything that is happening is that I am black, I am gifted, and I'm proud. And
you're educated.
I'm capable.
Educated, yeah.
And I can do anything that I apply my mind to.
Okay.
That's all.
So that's basically for every black aspiring accountant. You are black, you're handsome.
You're gifted.
You're educated.
And you're
provided
capable.
you're doing that, you're capable. Okay.
And you should be proud about being
you should
black.
be proud of being black. I'm more of a I used to be more of a New Yorker, Masorian, Mafetanian. But I feel like I found love in Chicago. I was recently in Chicago, so I feel like Chicago is where I belong. But again, the Black Lives Matter, and I'm proud of being young, black, educated, capable.
And I just want to say, before we close, thank you for supporting me throughout all of these many things.
I told you guys, I am that friend. I am judgy AF, but I am that friend.
Yeah, you know, you've seen me through the worst moments. You come to my place and you'll find me studying and down and out.
And he'll kick me out. He'll kick me out at 9 o'clock. He will kick me out at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
After he fed me. Yeah, because I don't cook.
I can cook. But all I want to say is keep being that support system to the people that you care about, because it's what matters the most. Like I said, who do you talk to? The support, and how receptive you are as an individual to want to share the knowledge that you have, and as somebody who receives, on the other hand, to be welcoming to people's advices and criticism or feedback or whatever we might want to call it. just keep doing it because it helps people unleash their potential.
My career is set, guys.
Merci.
Your network determines your net worth. It's always about the money. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Wishing you travel mercies as you venture back to Paris. And we will be in Paris sometime in 2021. And my French is not bad. I can say merci beaucoup, comment ça va? Moi, ça va très bien. Guys, and this is all through an app. All through an app. You have no excuse. Get yourself some data. Get yourself an app. Get yourself a smartphone. And let's have the conversation. Till the next video when I interview my next friend that's willing to talk to me about what a shady friend I can be. Cheers, guys. Mwah.